Okay, so I made a promise that I would do Storks, and yeah, I'm gonna fulfill that promise. I watched the movie Storks recently, the Netflix movie, and well, in a nutshell, I mean it was cute, but basically, if you're not in the mood for me to be harsh on a movie, then I suggest you click off now. If you have a real soft spot for this movie, I can understand why, but I'm gonna tell you honestly, it didn't really do anything for me personally. But that's more of my opinion. Let's get to the more objective kind of writing techniques that were used in this film. So first, let's talk about the comedy. So basically, the classic comedy trope that they're using in the writing in this movie specifically is mainly the banter where um there's not exactly a breather point for any of the characters even when their relationship gets better throughout the film. And for some people who like that kind of comedy a lot and like that kind of dynamic duo type of deal, that's gonna really keep the movie afloat for you. But if you don't like that kind of comedy and you want to see more variety, then you might find this movie very, very boring. The thing is that in a nutshell, the two characters, Tulip and the main stork, whose honestly name I forget. I'm sorry. But you know who I'm talking about if you've watched the movie. The thing is that all of their banter really didn't do it for me because it was the same ramp up every single time. Basically, it was always them fighting over something really minute, and then it escalates to complete nonsense when they're trying to defend themselves and what they're trying to say or what they're trying to get out of the conversation. It escalates and escalates until some slapstick happens, and that's usually almost every single interaction they have. And it's honestly something where, again, if you like that type of awkward comedy when it comes to dynamics that the two characters are constantly at each other's throats, even if one of them's trying to be friendly, um, if you like that kind of dynamic, then this movie is really going to be entertaining for you. And it's going to be something where you're probably going to get way attached to these characters because of it. But for me, I actually became less attached to these characters because of how predictable their banter became. If you want to do the slow ramp up as they're basically arguing about small details of things, and then they start getting louder and faster with their delivery in terms of the dialogue, that works like the first two times, maybe even three times, but that's the only type of interaction they really have unless the movie is trying to be dramatic in a moment for their characters. And, you know, it's definitely something where, for me, it got old quickly. And for me, the reason why it seemed to lessen my opinion of the overall movie and my attachment to the characters was because I could basically predict how each type of interaction they had was going to end. There was no unexpected twist or uniqueness about their banter that made me feel like it was different enough for me to get attached to the characters as their own separate personalities. It was basically something where, for Tulip, I liked her. I love the idea of the. I actually really like the character archetype that it's just a character that is technically a screw up, but always tries to do her best and wants to help. Like, I relate to that, for one. And for two, I think it's always a really nice type of underdog story that doesn't feel like, oh, they just are a misfit and they don't belong with anyone. But no, this person has an actual problem with biting off more than they can chew, trusting the wrong people, and having a little bit too much energy. That kind of stuff, to me, is appealing and it's great for character growth. It makes sense, but because mainly what was focused on with Tulip was just her fighting and trying to bring down the walls of the main stork, I felt like we didn't get to explore her character as much as we could have. And that made me honestly kind of upset. Basically, in terms of the plot, moving away from comedy, in terms of the plot, I really did feel like it was an interesting concept to have the storks go from delivering babies to just being a stork's Amazon. That would have worked even better though if they would have had a more in-depth reason for switching onto that instead of the one villain story backstory that we got, and the oh, babies are annoying and hard to carry, so we're just going to do something else. Um, it's basically something where I really wish that it wasn't just one single stork that was that got attached to a baby and didn't want to let go, and they use that as the reason to pivot away from baby delivery. Um, and it's also something that I feel like I know the whole idea and part of the comedy of this movie is the idea of, oh, it's a greedy corporate situation where the head honcho just wants to make money and be in control of everything and gain as much power as possible. I get that. But at the same time, it's been done so many times before in other shows, both live action and animated, hybrid, whatever. We've seen this kind of stereotype of the greedy salesperson or greedy boss, I should say, just wanting to make money. We've seen it so many times, and I don't feel like there was anything uniquely done with this person or stork, bird, whatever, in this movie. I didn't get a feel for why he's greedy, why he wants to be so in control of anything other than the fact that just, power hungry and that's it. But beyond that, the only other thing that I can really mention about it is I did really enjoy the message of letting down walls in order to care for the child, trying to find family and including the people who you care about in your family, even if you're not blood related. That was really sweet and I loved that. I loved the fact that at the end montage we got variety so much variety of different types of couples getting babies. That was awesome. Nice diversity and nice inclusion there. But the thing is that beyond that, there's not really much I can say about the movie. To be completely honest, I really wanted it to be two separate movies actually, because I wished like there was, or maybe could be like one of those short story movies where it's a compilation of short stories instead of one full narrative. Um, I wish there was two separate stories on one, the delivering of the accidental baby that comes out of the factory, and to basically focus on that story or focus on the human family that is expecting a baby and waiting for the delivery from the storks to come. Because I feel like on their own, those two ideas were so good, and they could have gotten, if they would have gotten the love and care they really needed, they could have been even better stories on their own than shoved together to create downtime for each other. I just feel like there were so many times where there were scenes where I was wishing we could go back to the family or wishing we could go back to the dynamic duo. And I felt like each of their times wasn't very well handled in terms of one, placement of their segments, and two, also just the idea of them being in the same story. I feel like it could have been more cohesive if there would have been some writing changes, and there also could have been some better placements if one got more focus than the other, rather than trying to really balance them two for two without making them two separate stories. Um, so I feel like honestly, I did enjoy the movie, but just it's not something I'm probably going to come back to anytime soon. Um, Sorry that this was kind of an underwhelming review of the movie, but at the same time, I mean, I am glad I checked it out. Better late than never, of course. And if you guys have any recommendations for me, be sure to comment below and make sure you give me your recommendations for movies, whether it be animation, live action, anime, video games, whatever. You know me, I love storytelling. And of course, excuse me, oh my gosh, I am hungry. Even though I just ate, I am really hungry. But like usual, stay tuned for more content, more reviews. Be sure to smash the like button and allow yourself to subscribe if you want to. And other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.